Let's look a little more in depth at how to pull a photo essay together and what you really need. We'll look at the elements for a successful photo essay, and we'll look at your storyboard assignment that's due at the end of this module. And we'll discuss the benefits of a concept known as pre-visualization and a storyboard checklist. So in your Cobre reading, you should have picked up that there are several styles of photo story that he presents. There's little known but interesting. There's little known but representative, where you pick one thing to represent a genre. You have one person representing the abstract, and that's an easy way to cover a more abstract concept. You can report on a lifestyle. You can document a place. You can bear witness to an issue, and you can cover the highlights. So here are some of the primary elements behind a successful photo story or photo essay. They have an external theme. They have a person who serves as the main subject. They have a complication and a resolution. They have visually appealing photos. There's a supporting narrative. And then you need some sort of storytelling organization to give it a beginning, a middle, and an end. The theme separates the photo story from what would otherwise be just a collection of random photos. There are a couple of basic theme styles. You could have an internal theme or an external theme. An external theme has an action that's easily photographed. For our class, this is what you probably want to stick to. Photo essays of an abstract or internal theme, ideas and concepts alone, are difficult to photograph, especially for people fairly new to the photo story. They're not a good starting place because they lack action that's easily photographed. As an example, if you wanted to do a photo story on the concept of red, that requires a fair amount of thinking and fleshing out of what does red mean, right? So it's a difficult thing to photograph. The easiest and most effective way to tell a story is to use one person as a main subject or character. That gives you something you can ground your story into and keep coming back to. And that main subject is going to provide some cohesion and create a connection that's going to tie all of those photos around together. For example, to tell a visually appealing story about the challenges and struggles of students enrolled in a particular program. Let's use dance students as an example. An effective photo story will focus on one student who's representative of the entire group. Complication and resolution are important for an interesting and effective story. A complication is any problem for a person. An example would be a little boy who's afraid of the water, but invited to a birthday party where all the other kids are going to be swimming. Another complication example might be a person who has a heart attack. Resolution is any change in the character or situation that resolves that complication. For example, the child takes swimming lessons and learns to love the water. Or the patient enters cardiac rehabilitation, follows his doctor's orders, learns to eat better, loses weight, and is less likely to have a repeat event. It's worth noting that the resolution in both of these examples is going to take some time, and this is probably not going to work well for a story where you need to be able to turn around in a couple of weeks. Some more examples. A couple wants to have a child, but they're unable to conceive for medical reasons, which creates the conflict. The couple adopts a child, which is one possible resolution. The complication, unable to have a child, is an internal concept that's difficult to photograph. So the conflict could be introduced in the narrative, accompanied by photos of the couple at the doctor's office. The resolution, adoption, is full of photo possibilities. They could be meeting with the adoption agency staff. They could be interacting with the child at the agency. They could be welcoming the child into their home. You can have complication without resolution. For example, a photo story that outlines the problems for a homeless family, but may not offer a solution. A solution might be to take the story to the next level when that family is relocated into Habitat for Humanity. You can also have resolution without complication. For example, an award ceremony that honors a person for their accomplishments, but never really explains what that person did to earn the award. Both of these make a somewhat weaker photo story than one that has that entire front to back narrative. Photo story needs to be visual, okay? It needs not only the complication and resolution, it needs possibilities for photo, and that complication needs to be visual. A student studying for a math final offers plenty of complication and resolution, but not much in the way of visuals. And in this course, you're going to need something that's near at hand, something that can be photographed and presented before the next module. So we've got a couple of weeks to pull this together. What makes visually appealing photography? Well, we've been talking about it all semester. It's decisive moments. It's the 4 C's: content, composition, candid, colorful. And by colorful, I don't just mean full of color, I mean also full of emotion. It means creatively correct exposures. It means you need an environmental portrait. You need some visual variety, which is an overall wide shot, a medium shot, a close-up, even better, an extreme detail close-up. You need interaction between people. You need a signature shot that can stand alone. And you really need a clincher, a closer that can stand to close the story. That supporting narrative, the captions that enhances the visuals. You need to tell who's in the picture and identify the subjects. The what describes the action. The when provides the dates and the story's timeline. Where provides the locations. Why provides the subject's motivation and the conflict. And how helps tell what the subject is doing to overcome the conflict. Notice that these elements in the supporting narrative and captions, we've again been dealing with all semester, and you'll do the 5 W's and the H in all of your journalism classes. A storytelling organization includes a beginning that establishes the theme, introduces the subject, introduces the complication. A middle that talks about how the subject is working towards the resolution. And the ending, which wraps it up and brings the story into a logical conclusion. Your assignment for this module is to pre-visualize and plan a story. I want you to think about what it's going to look like, and then briefly answer questions about your theme, who's your main subject, what's the conflict or the complication, what's the resolution, and how are you going to organize it? The storyboard questions are designed to get you started and start recognizing what you want to include to create a visual essay. It would not be the first time if the photo essay you envision in your storyboard just doesn't work out. There's no penalty for pursuing a different subject. It's worth checking in if you have to cut your losses and try a completely different story. The more thoroughly that you can think about what this might look like, the more likely it is that it's going to work out fine, but do be visually flexible as you go into things. Storyboard essay questions are provided in Canvas, and if you've got questions or you wonder, is this going to work? Don't hesitate to email the instructor or consult with your fellow students. Putting this up on a discussion board is a good way to talk through what some of those possibilities might be. Here are some links to good examples. The New York Times has a section on their website called the Lens blog that's full of photo stories. The Eddie Adams workshop and the Missouri photo workshop are both workshops for college students that work in a fairly short period of time. The Eddie Adams workshop is a week. The Missouri photo workshop is a weekend. And the students come into town cold, find a story, photograph it, and present it at the end of their workshop. And these are their presentations. And it's especially compelling work when you realize that these are students that are your age. And then Magnum Photos is one of the major long-form photo story agencies. And they also have a lot of current photo stories posted on their website.